Okay, we'll see if we can swing this one off the cuff again. Alright, this is about spark plugs. Now, the spark plugs that come on Vespas, old Vespas, and Stellas, Bajaj, and LML, Stars, are usually number 7 plugs. That means there's like a heat rating on plugs that go from 6 to 9. You got 6, 7, 8, and 9. 6 is the hottest plug. This is a 7 small frame. You see how the threads are shorter? And this is typical regular bike. But small frames came with shorter threads. And that's the long threads. That's on most bikes. We always like using the NGKs. And they're usually like the B, the heat number, which is, this one's an 8, ES. And this is a typical one, which is B7 HS. This is for a small frame though. You can see it twice as long, the threads. And now talking about the heat rating, 7 is like for everyday riding on a stock bike, and it handles almost every condition on a stock compression bike. We usually put like a number 8 in bikes when they start getting into higher performance. They run a little cooler. I run 8s usually because that extra compression is hotter, and also we run 9s in extreme conditions. Like there's a 9 plug for like top high compression bikes that these are bikes you're going to run on the street, and you're going to always be revving them high, long distances. And that's how I usually set up the plugs. Now, if you have a regular bike and you're in a place where you're like a regular 7 number plug, and you're running in a place where you're always at extreme RPMs, then I would maybe consider getting an 8 plug just to keep things cooler. And especially if you're in a hot place, just run the engine a little cooler. You might lose like a half a horsepower or something. It might be almost noticeable. Also, you have to check your plug for the burn. Make sure it's burning pretty good. I also use plugs number 9 sometimes when I'm testing bikes for the first time, jetting them for the first time. Make sure I don't blow them. Then I'll overdo everything, and then I'll back them down back to an 8, and then I'll lower the jet slowly, just to make sure I'm not starting off with something crazy and blow the engine. But like extreme bikes, it might be a good idea to run 9. If you're running compressions, like the compression ratings are something like, if you have a meter. Let me see if I have a meter over here. Hold on. Let me pause for a moment. Alright, I found a meter here. This is what I check compression with. You know, if your compression's like a lot of but a lot of Vespas are low compression, so they're like 100, a little over 100 drop. Some are even 90, you know, low compression. And running 7s there isn't really that bad of a deal, but when you start getting up to like 110 to 130, you know, then maybe you start thinking about an 8, maybe. And then if you're going from like 130 to 150, then I sometimes think about getting a 9 plug in there, especially because around where we live, we're always being pushed to go pretty quick on these big roads. So all right. Well, also you have to gap the plugs right. Make sure you have like it's usually like 0.32 millimeter, which these are usually, mine are usually set perfectly at. You know, and this one's nice because it has a little, tool here to control, so you can bend you can adjust the height. See, you can bend it really easily. Or you can get one of these at a shop. also works pretty good. See how it has a little go back and forth. What else can I say about this? Let's see. Always carry an extra plug. I always do. I always throw one in the glove because they do go bad once in a while. It's such a simple thing to carry, you know. And all right. Also, this is just now. That's about it about plugs, I guess. You know, there's a lot of you take what you can learn from people and you apply it to yourself. You know, so a lot of different opinions. Also, here's a few. That's it about plugs, but this is about. I found a few heads laying around here, and I wanted to show you. See, there's different lengths, but some performance heads have short threads. See, this is a 166, I believe, head, and this one has longer threads. See how nice it sits in there with the longer threads? But a lot of the new performance ones lately, they do have shorter, like this one. Like this one has shorter threads. So when you get a kit, you know, you really should check out what it takes. You know, sometimes it takes shorter. See what I mean? And this is a 150. It's not a small frame. So they do that, I think, to cool the heads better. It's less aluminum, cools down better. You know, it doesn't have a thick chunk of aluminum at the top more than it needs. You know, and but some, you know, like even this P200 performance head I have has a long one, has the long threads in it. But most, like as you can see, like this 150, and this 150 does too. They also have some off. They're off to one side, and some performance ones start getting closer and closer to the center, but some are way offside. I think that's to push the exhaust, the combustion towards the exhaust. See the angle? The exhaust is right down on that side, the hole for the exhaust. So it kind of lights from the corner, goes all the way to the corner where the exhaust is. Kind of help push it out. But a lot of performance ones are starting to get closer and closer to dead center. All right. But like I was just saying that because sometimes people just take the plugs off their bike and just throw it onto their performance kit bike, and it might be a short thread one instead of a long thread one. I'm sure a lot of the kits tell you in the paperwork, but you know, some people still screw that up once in a while. All right, and that's about it. I was gonna maybe talk about some other stuff, just for something to talk about. I put my wife's bike away for the winter. Here. You know what's a nice cheap covers you can get if you're just looking for something to throw over a bike. If you live in a four-season place, go to a pellet stove place. Sometimes the bags that come over the pallets fit perfectly over the bike, so they probably cost you nothing. You know, I have a bunch of bikes, and I usually cover them up in the winter down here. And I have a dehumidifier right down there. Keeps the basement perfect down here. The water runs down. I have a hole in the ground that I dug, and it keeps the I drop all the water down into the ground into this gravel pit I made, and I cemented the top up, and I have a pipe that goes down there. All right, guys, that's it. Just throwing some extra crap in there for people to have to talk about. Just something to do. All right, bye.